Hello and welcome to Middle Eastern Thursday. So today it is all about beast mode, long-lasting, intense scents that will leave a trail and will make a statement wherever you go. But we have a little bit of a twist because, there's been so many new releases, and this is a video that I get requests for all the time. But the twist that I have for you today is that I've made sure to pull fragrances that you may have forgotten about through time. In the midst of all these new releases, you may have forgotten that you have these fragrances in your collection. And if you don't have these fragrances in your collection, the good news is that they've been out for quite a while, so you may be able to snag them at a good discount. And as always, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description box to where you can pick them up and a discount code if I have one. So I have a total of 20 fragrances to share with you today. These have all been reviewed on the channel before, so I'm going to move rather quickly so we're not here forever. So let's go ahead and jump right in because we have quite a bit to cover as always. But if this is your first time here, I'm Emarati and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos multiple times a week, and on this channel, we just love to talk about all types of fragrances. So if that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. All right, so the first fragrance that I want to share with you today is from Paris Corner, and this was one of my first ever affordable Middle Eastern fragrances, and I have not featured it on the channel for such a long time. But when I tell you that this is a full-on beast mode scent, there is no way that you're going to be able to avoid being sniffed if you're wearing this scent. And this one is Paris Corner Kaheela Luxe. And here is the very, very interesting bottle. Now, Kaheela Luxe is a scent that is supposed to remind you of Kayali Invite Only Amber, I think it's 28. And this is a scent that truly does remind me of that fragrance. And today I'm not here to really speak about what a fragrance was inspired by and compare it to the OG if I own it or anything like that. Today, I just want to share with you 20 fragrances that you may have forgotten about, but that are true powerhouses and that you may really, if you don't own them already, you may want to really try them. So Kaheela Luxe is a scent that truly is very, very ambery. So it is perfection for this weather that we're in right now, cool weather. It is very ambery, but what I find interesting about this scent is that it is beautiful at the dry down, and I don't even know how they did it because it offers a very complex olfactory journey because it has a collection of notes that don't always work very well with each other. So listen to this. It has some patchouli, it has oud, it has cherry, it has the note of honey, and it is not funky in any kind of way. And it has tobacco. So it has a very complex olfactory journey. But at the dry down, you are going to get the most beautiful ambery scent that is also warm, spicy, with a tad of a floral presence. If I recall correctly, it's more about the rose on my nose and on my skin. But this is perfection for cool weather. But the best part about this fragrance is that it is truly beast mode. This is not one, if you've allowed it to sit, you now have a true beast mode scent in your hands that as soon as you spray it, it's going to start projecting. It performs, it gives me well over the 10-hour mark without having to necessarily overspray. Just spraying it in my regular, spray routine, it will exceed the 10-hour mark. It does have a strong projection that gets me up to 2 hours, and then it does have a moderate sillage. This is definitely a compliment getter, but the truth of this scent is that not only is it beautiful and perfect for cool weather, because I would never pull this during a warm day, but it is also such a strong and intense scent. Let us know if you've tried Kaheela Luxe, if you own it, if it's been sitting in your collection for a long time, because this one has been with me, I would say almost 2 years, if not longer. But anyway, moving on. Now, another fragrance that you may have forgotten about, but that you really may want to, if you own it, pull it out, because this is the perfect season for it. And if you've owned it for a while, I am sure that it is beyond powerhouse, because this one is no joke. And I am speaking about Lattafa Ajwad. Now, you know that Lattafa has Ajwad and it also has Ajwad Pink to Pink. This is the first one. This is Ajwad. And this is supposed to remind you of Mancera's Roses Vanille. And I have to tell you that it really does. I've had this fragrance for well over a year, more approaching the 2-year mark. And this is a powerhouse. When I tell you, this is not a scent that you want to play with. This is not your regular rose scent. So if you're wondering, okay, Arahi, it's roses and vanilla, how can that be a massive powerhouse? I don't know what they did, but I can tell you that this is a powerhouse. Here you do have a fruity opening, which will fool you. It is a bit of a fruity opening and it is sweet. This scent is so beautiful. Now that it's had a chance to sit, I can't speak highly enough to this scent, because it does have a floral presence and it is definitely roses, but I also get like a little bit of jasmine in the mix. There's some vanilla. It is a very ambery scent. And at the dry down, you are going to pick up on like a level 2 to 3 musk, more 2 than 3, which is not animalic. And you are going to have some woodiness. A perfect floral scent, to call it something for cooler weather. Because again, this is not one that I would pull on a very hot summer day. Like, you could pull it during the spring season, fall and winter, in my opinion, but wear whatever you want, when you want, and how you want. But I am telling you, for me, now that this one has been sitting, I can't imagine myself pulling this during a summer season. Let us know if you have or if you tried Ajwad and your thoughts. Now, if you've been with me since the beginning of my affordable Middle Eastern fragrances journey, you know how much I love Ahmed Al-Maghribi fragrances. They are just so special to me. And this one was my first love. And I have discussed this fragrance here on the channel so many times, but this is a massive powerhouse. And this fragrance was a massive powerhouse from the first day, from the first sniff, from the first try on skin. It was just full on beast mode. And now that it's had a chance to sit, it has just intensified more and more. And I am speaking about Ahmed Al-Maghribi's Bidun Esam. Now, Bidun Esam is a fragrance that is really all about the rose and the oud. This is what I would call Ahmed Al-Maghribi original take on a rose and oud centric scent. Because after that, we did get roses and oud, and that's a beautiful fragrance too. I've also discussed that one here on the channel with you. But to me, Bidun Esam is really like, maybe because it was my first fragrance from that house, but to me, this is like the signature, you know, oud and rose scent coming out of this fragrance house. But here, you are going to find that the rose is very dominant. When I tell you this rose is no joke, I don't even know how they got the rose to be this intense and this in your face and bold. But this rose is not a freshly bloomed rose. It's a tad jammy. Now that it's had a chance to sit, this rose is mature, but not in a dated way. What I mean to say is that it bloomed, it opened, and it's been there for several days. So now you're getting that very pronounced rose scent that at the same time, at times comes across as a little bit like sweet, because the fragrance is sweet, but it also has a very marked spicy presence. So it is warm, spicy. It is very ambery. And the spice, the one spice that I pick up on the most from the opening all throughout the olfactory journey and at the dry down, is the note of saffron. But it has been done so beautifully and plays so well with that rose note. This is a fragrance that does have musk, and the musk here is like a level 3, not animalic in any kind of way. Of course, as I said before, it does have oud. The oud here is no joke. It's a 3 to 4, more 4 than 3, but it is not barnyardish in any kind of way because in my experience, Ahmed and Maghribi fragrances are not barnyardish oud ever. Not even the ones that are totally only focused on oud for the most part. But this one, this is a beauty. This is truly for me a feminine fragrance. I cannot imagine a gentleman wearing this because this is truly the essence of rose at its finest, but truly an incredible scent that I think is perfect for cooler weather. I don't think that this is one that you could pull on a very hot summer day because it will be quite overwhelming. Let us know if you've tried Bidun Esam. What has your experience been? Do you enjoy it? I know many of you picked it up because I have talked about it so much here on the channel, but let us know your thoughts. The next fragrance that I have for you is such a special fragrance for me. If you've been with me from the beginning of my Middle Eastern fragrances journey, you will recall when I first hauled this fragrance and then when I kept featuring it over and over and over again. You guys know how I am when I'm obsessed with the fragrance, and this one is just so addictive and it is so exquisitely done. And I am speaking about Paris Corner Emir, and this is When Soul Gets High. Oh, and I am sure that all of my OG fam members really do remember this scent because I could not praise it enough. This is truly an incredible scent that is supposed to remind you, by the way, of Back to Black by Killian. And it really will remind you of that scent. This one has been sitting with me well over a year, and I can tell you this was a powerhouse from the beginning, but with time, you know, this is the type of scent that I can only spray like once or twice at the most, because if I do any more than that, I am asking to have serious problems like choking myself, choking all of those around me. Truly a powerhouse. This is a scent that is perfection for cool weather. It has a floral presence. It has some fruity notes. It has some tobacco. It has honey. It has some spicy notes that are just beautifully done. It is absolute perfection for cooler weather, but this is not one that you ever want to pull on a very hot summer day, especially if it's been sitting in your collection for a while, because I'm telling you, it's not going to go very well, and I am speaking from experience. But other than that, an incredible scent that I think is truly unisex. It does not lean to the feminine or to the masculine side, in my opinion. This is really one that I can see a gent or a lady wearing without a problem. But for the most part, it is definitely a unisex scent that will carry you through cool weather beautifully. This is also not one that I would take to the office, by the way, but you can use it for just about any other occasion. I would not bring it to the office because it can be a bit offensive because it's a bit much. Most of the fragrances that I'm sharing with you today, with very few exceptions, I would say please don't bring them to the office because it's just too much. Unless you're just going to spray it one time and, you know, just monitor how that goes, because it can be a bit much. This is also one that I would not bring to an occasion where I know I'm going to be perspiring. So gym or any type of activity that requires you to perspire, I just don't think it's a good idea. Anyway, let us know if you've tried this fragrance. Did you pick it up? Are you loving it? How has it, you know, matured for you through time? Let us know. Next, I have for you a fragrance that I discussed so much at the beginning of my journey with you, and you know, then I stopped pulling it. And when I was preparing this video, I thought, wait a minute, definitely I need to talk to them about this one because it is such a powerhouse. This one took a while to become a true powerhouse, but once it stepped into that realm, it is one that I have to be really careful with. So this one is Lattafa Emaan, and look at this very interesting bottle. I have always loved this bottle. So Emaan is a fragrance that is supposed to remind you, and it will, of Giorgio Armani's My Way fragrance. This is a scent that to me focuses very much on white florals. This to me is like your perfect cool weather white florals scent, because you are definitely going to get those white florals. On my skin and to my nose, the one that stands out the most is the note of tuberose and orange blossom for sure. Other than that, this is a scent that has some patchouli that gives the scent a certain degree of earthiness, because there is a little bit of earthiness here, which I just think it adds character to the scent. So it's not just about the florals. And there's also, of course, some woodiness. And at the dry down, that woodiness becomes a bit creamy. And I think it may be courtesy of a combination of like sandalwood and patchouli. But all in all, this is an incredible powerhouse when I tell you. But what I love about it is that even though it is major beast mode, okay, and it does focus on white florals, it's not one of those white floral fragrances that is so strong and like the white florals are screechy and they're heady and they give you a headache every time you pull it and wear it. No, that's not the case with Emaan. Very, very nicely done. Let us know if you've tried it and your thoughts. Next, I have for you a fragrance that has been with me for a very long time, and through time, I cannot avoid pulling it whenever the cooler weather seasons approach, because it just automatically calls my name like from the shelf, and I have to move it forward to make sure that I use it because it is really a delight. Now, I will tell you, this is a fragrance that I don't think is for everybody. You have to, number one, really be into a unisex scent, a true unisex scent that does not lean in any direction. And you also have to have an appreciation for smokiness in a scent. And I am speaking about Asdaaf, and this is Majd al Sultan. Now, through time, I have discussed with you that this is not only a powerhouse, but this is a bold, in-your-face, statement-making scent that as soon as you walk in anywhere, heads will turn and people will ask you what you're wearing immediately. It doesn't matter where you are. I've told you so many stories. I've shared so many experiences that I've had around receiving compliments with this fragrance. The most famous of all, if you've been with me for a while, is the time that I went to the supermarket and I was standing at the deli and I had someone literally chase me down to ask me what I was wearing, and someone else strike up a conversation at the deli, okay, about this scent. And curiously enough, I did not think that this would be the fragrance that would do all that, because it does have a very smoky quality to it with a note of incense that to my nose and on my skin is very present. But there is something so alluring that pulls. This is a very dense, dark, bordering on sexy in a weird kind of way kind of scent, but this is not for everybody. So unless you're into that scent profile, I recommend that you try it first, because it is really a powerhouse and you're not going to be able to avoid it. Let us know if you own or if you tried Majd al Sultan and your thoughts. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that when it comes to Majd al Sultan, this is one that should allegedly, and it will, should remind you of Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace. And it very, very much will remind you of that fragrance. But the one thing I can tell you is that this one is 3 times, yes, 3 times if not more, as intense as that scent. So that is a good marker for you to determine if this is one that you even want to try. The next fragrance that I have for you is one that, oh, when I tell you this is a powerhouse, this is scary powerhouse, but mostly all of the fragrances that I'm sharing with you today are really scary powerhouses. You just cannot play games with these scents. And this one, so this is from Pendora Scents, and this is Noir d'Arabie. And here is the bottle. So Noir d'Arabie is a fragrance that is supposed to remind you, and it will, of Montal's Arabian's Tonka. This is an incredible scent that has an opening that is a bit airy and a bit citrusy. And it will fool you, because with that opening, you may think that it's not going to become the overwhelming beast, bordering on obnoxious, that this scent can be. Here you have quite a bit of rose, and you have a very, very present oud to the tune of 4 to 5, more 5 than 4. Now, you know that's really an overload, but that oud is not smooth. It's very raw and in your face, but it's not barnyardish or funky in any kind of way. In my opinion, the beauty and the difference in this scent is that at the dry down, you are going to get a very present note of tonka. And that tonka brings in a warm, spicy kind of effect, combined with that saffron that you experience in the olfactory journey. And it brings like a caramelly kind of vanillic type of touch to the scent. And it is very, very present. This is a very ambery scent. It does have some degree of musk, and it has oud. So it has all of the whammies that typically, set alerts off for all of us. It does have the oud, it has musk, it is very ambery, it is sweet, but not very sweet, but it is sweet. It has a floral presence dominated at all times by that rose. And at the end of the day, you are going to get an exquisitely beautiful scent at the dry down, but that scent, if you're not careful, will definitely choke you and all of those around you. The OG is a powerhouse, and this one is right there with it. Let us know if you've tried Noir d'Arabie and your thoughts. The next fragrance that I have for you is one that I have featured so much here on the channel, but I always tell you the same thing. This is not for everybody. This is actually a very polarizing scent that you just have to make sure that you are not just into the notes, but that you have taken the time to try it and understand it. I am speaking about Lattafa's Niche Emarati Vintage Castle. And here is the very interesting bottle. And here's the thing. This is truly for my patchouli lovers, but this is not for just any patchouli lover. This is a patchouli bomb, so you have to be into it. Not only do you have to be into the note of patchouli, but you also have to be into all of the nuances that are part of being a patchouli note lover, because this patchouli is not only intense, super amped up, but it's also earthy, very, very earthy. Now, this is a fragrance that will remind you of Virtus Soul Patchouli. That is another patchouli bomb. But here's the thing with this scent. Not only do you have that patchouli that is very, very dominant from first sniff throughout the entire olfactory journey, and at the dry down, it is all about a very present, very, very dominant, in your face, unapologetic patchouli. But it also has the note of iris. So the dry down, on top of having that very, very dominant patchouli that is also quite earthy, it's also powdery. So you are going to just have it all come together at you. But if you are a patchouli lover, this is definitely a fragrance that you want to get your nose on. And not only if you're a patchouli lover, but if you're a patchouli lover and you're looking for a scent that just screams patchouli, this is the one. This is, I must say, this borders on obnoxious. I've had this fragrance for well over a year. And I can tell you that when I wear this scent, I just spray it one time. And even at that, okay, sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. But overall, it is an incredible fragrance. It just has its group that it was designed for, which is with true radical patchouli lovers. Let us know if you've tried Vintage Castle and what has been your experience. Next, I have for you a fragrance that is one of my favorite Middle Eastern fragrances of all time. And this became such a deep love that it actually forced me to pick up the OG. So I am speaking about Emir Identity Oud Crescent. Now, this is a fragrance that will remind you of Frederick Malle the Moon. That is a scent that is radical. When I tell you radical, and I must say that at the beginning, I thought it may be a little bit polarizing, but it's not. You just need to make sure that you love a very intense, immense powerhouse, 12+ hour wear kind of fragrance, because that is what you're going to get here. You're not going to be able to just simply scrub it off. You're going to have to be patient for it to just fade away. On your clothes, it will be forever. It is just unbelievable. But this is truly a beautiful scent. This is a fragrance that opens very fruity and fresh, spicy. It opens fresh, spicy with a very present note of saffron that at times does take over that fruitiness that you experience. Within the fruity notes, you are going to find lychee and raspberry. I pick up more on the raspberry than I do the lychee now that it has had a chance to sit for well over a year. The fragrance also has a very spicy presence that goes from fresh to warm spicy, because this is truly cool weather. This is not for the summer. Believe me, this is all the way cool weather scent. It has a good bit of oud here. The oud is 3 to 4, more 4 than 3, not barnyardish in any kind of way. And at the dry down, you are going to experience, in addition to that oud, there's other woody notes that really ground the fragrance, and it is a very ambery scent. But all in all, this is not your regular rose and oud scent. To me, it's not really even about that. To me, it's really a blend that has been done so exquisitely that you can't even just categorize it as just, another oud and rose scent, because the spicy notes play a critical role. The amberiness of the scent really makes a marked difference. And you do have a floral presence. You have an iris that also makes the dry down a bit powdery. All in all, when I tell you this is an incredible scent that if you fall in love with it, it will be quite addictive from the get-go, which is what happened to me. Anyway, let us know if you've tried it and your thoughts. The next fragrance that I have for you is from a collection that I absolutely love and that I own all of the fragrances from. And this is, by the way, a fragrance that I have a dedicated review for here on the channel, where I also rank the entire collection and I compare it to a couple others. But this one is from Swiss Arabian, and it is Shaghaf Oud Royale. And here is the gorgeous, gorgeous bottle that we've come to recognize as part of the Shaghaf collection. So this is a fragrance that should remind you, allegedly, upon first sniff, of Initio's Oud for Greatness. I am not going to get into all of that today because I definitely have my thoughts around you. But what I am going to tell you is that this is a no joke kind of powerhouse. This takes powerhouse to the next level. If you saw my dedicated review when I did it a long, long time ago, you may recall that I told you that this was a patchouli bomb. Very, very centered around the note of patchouli. And to top it all off, it's not just about the patchouli, but it's really about the mix of the patchouli and the oud. The oud here is not barnyardish, but it's not a smooth oud. This is truly a fragrance for a real oud lover, someone who really enjoys the note of oud with its raw nuances, right? Because this oud was not designed to be smooth. Again, very present, very dominant, and then to top it all off, combined with the note of patchouli. In addition to the oud and the patchouli, you're also going to find a floral presence, very clear in its lavender. The fragrance opens warm, spicy, with a very present note of lavender, but it immediately sets the tone with the oud, because this fragrance is really all about the oud and the patchouli. Midway in the olfactory journey, you are in the middle, in the midst of that oud and patchouli blend, and it's not going anywhere. It only intensifies more and more at the dry down. This is a scent that is very, very much unisex, and some may argue that it does lean to the masculine side, and I'm not going to say that they're not right, because it may lean a tad to the masculine side. That has never bothered me, and I absolutely love this, but that's because I love oud and I do enjoy a good note of patchouli, and here it has been done very nicely. There is also a bit of earthiness to the scent coming straight out of the note of patchouli, in my opinion. But all in all, to me, this is a unisex scent that is not appropriate for every occasion, because it does border on obnoxious. It is that strong. It is that overpowering. So anyway, let us know if you've tried Shaghaf Oud Royale and what has been your experience. Oh, and by the way, for me, there is no way that you can pull this off during a warm summer day or warm weather whatsoever. This is truly designed for cooler weather. Next, I have for you from the Ministry of Oud, Oud Satin. Now, Oud Satin is a fragrance that I have not pulled in quite a while, because this is a scent that, to be honest with you, became such a powerhouse that I just can't handle it. Whenever I spray it, whether I spray it 1 time or 2 times, I mean, it is just a bit much for me. So it typically does choke me. So I just cannot really wear it much. But this is a scent that will remind you immediately of MFK's Oud Satin Mood. Now, I've shared with you another fragrance that also does have that same scent profile. I have shared it with you recently, but that one is not as strong or as much of a powerhouse as this one, because This is just unbelievable. Here you do have a very crisp rose. It's like a rose that bloomed maybe about a day ago. It is combined with a very present note of oud, but the oud, although it's like a level 3 to 4, more 3 than 4, is very smooth, but you're definitely going to pick up on it. But to top it all off, it is a fragrance that has quite a bit of vanilla. It has not been disclosed, but to me, this is quite ambery. And at the dry down, it is powdery. A beautiful, beautiful scent, but it is just such a powerhouse. This one has been in my collection over a year. And although it was very powerful from the beginning, it has come to be one that I am telling you, I just don't even pull it, if at all, because I am telling you, it is such a strong powerhouse. The times that I have pulled it to wear it, I just pull it, spray it one time, and layer it with like a vanilla-centric scent or more of a floral to kind of like soothe it down, because it is very, very powerful. Let us know if you've tried Ministry of Oud, Oud Satin, and your thoughts. Next, I have for you a fragrance that I have not discussed with you in quite a while, but at the beginning of my Middle Eastern fragrances journey, I used to pull it quite a bit because it is a very, very nice fragrance. And this one is from Lattafa, and it is Mohra. And here is the gorgeous bottle. Now, Mohra is a scent that should remind you, and it will, of Penhaligon's Halfeti. But while Halfeti, at least on my skin, has challenges around performance, you know, it's not that it doesn't perform well, because it will get me, if I recall correctly, like 6 or 6.5 hours, but not quite to the 7-hour mark. But this one is definitely a massive powerhouse, right? So this is definitely a beautiful, beautiful scent that opens with a very present note of lavender. And it opens airy, not just because of the lavender that brings a certain degree of airiness to the scent, but also because there are some citrusy notes that really, really make for a very, very nice opening. But almost immediately after that opening, the scent starts to become really, really intense. And the spicy notes make their debut. And there I get some black pepper, some saffron, and others that have not been disclosed. At the dry down, you are going to pick up on the patchouli. The patchouli and the sandalwood have like a creamy woodiness going on. The musk is a level 4 to 5, which means it's rather present, more 4 than 5. And it is a tad animalic, which does add quite a bit of character to the scent. I really enjoy this fragrance, but I must admit, this is not, in my opinion, for every occasion, and this is not one that I would bring to the office because it may be kind of offensive. Because when I tell you, not only is the scent complex, but it is so, so, so intense. Let us know if you've tried Mohra and your thoughts. The next fragrance that I have for you is a gourmand, so get ready. So this one is from Emir Paris Corner, and this is Voux Patisserie. And here is the bottle. Now, Voux Patisserie is a scent that immediately will remind you of Xerjov's Emarati Italica. This is a scent that has had the opportunity to sit in my collection for months and months. And I can tell you that right now, not only is it a massive powerhouse, but it is really, really a very, very strong gourmand. This is not going to make you smell like a specific dish or dessert, but the level of yumminess here is really off the charts. Truly a very, very yummy scent that is also very, very lactonic. So that is the one thing that I consider it to be a deal breaker when it comes to this scent and this scent profile. But what I wanted to say is that I find this one to be much more intense. And Italica, you know, I own Italica, and that is a fragrance that is quite intense. It has performance that is exceptional. But this one, this is to the tune of like 10 hours plus, closer to the 12-hour mark when you wear it for an entire day. It is truly a crazy powerhouse. But at that, I also find that the level of lactonic quality of the scent is much, much higher than that you get from Italica. So you must be one of those fan members that absolutely loves a lactonic scent in order to really enjoy this one, because if not, it may even make you feel a little bit sick. So you have to be really careful. This is a scent that, although it is very lactonic, it doesn't have a note of milk. Here you find a ton of vanilla. The scent is sweet. It is marked by a very present note of cardamom. There's other spicy notes here, but the one that I pick up the most is the cardamom. There is a slight fruity presence, but it's not really fruity in any kind of way. And there is a floral presence. But to me, this is all about that vanilla with the spicy notes and on a woody background, which is quite creamy at the dry down. All in all, giving way for a very gourmand kind of scent that, while not making you smell like food, you will definitely smell very, very yummy. Let us know if you've tried Voux Patisserie and your thoughts. Next, I have a fragrance that I have so been looking to sharing with you because I realized that I did haul it, I did review it for you, but I never circled back. And right now, this is like a major powerhouse. And this is from French Avenue, and this is Spicy Amber. Now, take a look at this bottle. Now, just looking at the bottle, doesn't that remind you of something? Well, this is a fragrance that as soon as you sniff it will remind you of Matière Premier's Encens Suave. And I have to tell you, I am so impressed with how this has matured, because it is, when I tell you, not just beast mode, but it is a scent that is so alluring and captivating, just like Encens Suave. Here, you are going to have an opening that has a floral presence, and you're immediately going to pick up on the note of rose. But what really marks this opening, at least to my nose and on my skin, is that it's very smoky. We do have the note of incense here, but I don't get necessarily incense per se, but I do get a smoky quality to the fragrance. In addition to that, there is a bit of a leather note here, and that leather note has been done very smooth, more like a suede. I do pick that up. I can't even remember if they've disclosed it, but that is what I get. And I do get quite a bit of woodiness, and I also get some vanilla. Not a lot of vanilla, but there is definitely a presence of vanilla here. All in all, this is a scent that is so addictive and alluring and captivating. It is just amazing. And I was so pleasantly surprised to find that it is such a powerhouse, because it is truly a powerhouse. This is one, though, that you could use for any occasion, day or night. You could take it to the office, you could dress it up, you could dress it down. It is very unisex. I'm telling you, a delight of a scent. I really hope that I can find it so I can link it for you, because this is truly incredible. Anyway, let us know if you tried Spicy Amber and your thoughts. Next, I have for you a fragrance that has been with me for quite a long time. And this is from Rasasi, and this is Qasamat Rasana. And you may recall this bottle because there was a time that all I could do was talk about Rasasi. I just absolutely love the Rasasi fragrance house. And this, to me, is one of their iconic scents. Like, most of us started with Rasasi by Jasmine Whisk and this scent. So here you are going to have a very citrusy opening. But when I say very citrusy, it is truly very citrusy, to the point of confusing you into believing that this may be more of a warmer weather kind of fragrance. To me, this is an all year round kind of scent. And really, the star here for me is the note of leather, which plays very nicely with all of the other notes and accords. You have quite a bit of woodiness here. You have a little bit of oud to the tune of a 2 to 3, more 3 than 2, but not barnyardish or funky in any kind of way. At the dry down, you are going to get that leather that is very smooth. There is no floral presence to my nose or on my skin when it comes to this fragrance. This is all about an airy kind of woody scent that also is ambery. So a very, very interesting take on a woody centered scent. Let us know if you've tried this fragrance, because I know many of you own it. Next, I have for you a fragrance that I also realized that I hauled it, I reviewed it for you. I know that I featured it one more time, but I never officially circled back. And I am so, so happy to tell you that this one has truly become a massive powerhouse. And this is from Rehab, and this is Spanish Vanilla. Now, let me go ahead and share with you this bottle. So this is yet another vanilla that was launched. This one hasn't been in my collection for years, but it's been in my collection for months and months. I think I recall receiving it because this was sent to me in PR towards the beginning of this year, maybe, or the end of last year. What I can tell you is that this vanilla does not remind me of any other vanilla. This does not, before you ask me, no, it does not remind me of Vanilla 28. It does not remind me of any other vanilla. To me, this is a true standalone vanilla scent. And at that, I'm going to say that it is very basic, but I don't mean to say that it is linear or non-complex in any kind of way or boring. No, it's just that this is really centered all around the note of vanilla. But at that, there's also a note of milk that makes that vanilla a bit lactonic, obviously, but yummy. There is an inherent yumminess to this scent. You're not going to smell like a specific dessert. You're not going to smell like a specific dish, but you are going to smell ultra yummy, incredibly yummy. Beautiful, beautiful scent. And this is one that you could wear for just about any occasion, day or night. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, very much unisex. You can wear it on its own. You could use it to layer with just about any other scent profile. An incredible gem of a fragrance. Let us know if you've tried Spanish vanilla and your thoughts. The next fragrance that I want to share with you is one that the last 4 fragrances that I'm going to share with you, of course, are all powerhouses, but within these 4, there are 3, and this is one of them that when I tell you, you have to be very careful. This is like a spray one time and call it a day kind of fragrance. And this is from Lattafa, and this is Sheik al Shuyukh, but the Luxe edition. Wow, this is amazing. This is a fragrance that is very, very ambery. And by the way, it has ambroxan. So for those fam members that are sensitive to ambroxan, this one is not for you. Oh, and by the way, let me show you the bottle because I don't think that I showed it to you. So this is a fragrance that has a very present, warm, spicy to it, right? It's very warm, spicy. It has cinnamon and it has saffron and other spices, but to my nose, the one that takes the lead here is absolutely the cinnamon. In addition to that, you are going to find a floral presence, which the lead here of the florals is definitely the rose. I don't even know if there's others. I only get the rose because this scent to me is not even about that floral presence. It's more about this being a very, very strong, perfect for cool weather amber scent that has a very present, warm, spicy collection of notes. And it also has woodiness. And the woodiness at the dry down is quite creamy. And it does have a good bit of vanilla. But this is a scent that is absolute perfection for cool weather, but is one that you really have to be careful with. This is not one that I would take to the office. I think that it would really be offensive. Needless to say, not for occasions where you're planning to perspire. And this is very, very much unisex. No, I don't think that it leans to the masculine side. This is very, very much unisex. Let us know if you've tried Sheik al Shuyukh Luxe Edition. So the next fragrance that I have for you is one of my favorite coffee-centric fragrances of all time when it comes to affordable Middle Eastern fragrances. And the reason that this one is so special to me is because it is the first true coffee-centric fragrance that I experienced that did not make me smell like a barista. This has been done very, very nicely. And I am talking about Paris Corner Eternal Coffee. And you may recall this beautiful and interesting bottle. Now, Eternal Coffee is a fragrance that should remind you of the Merchant of Venice External Sunrise. And I do own that fragrance and it does remind me of it. But this one is a powerhouse, okay? This is a 10+ hour wear kind of fragrance with a very strong projection and a moderate sillage. Here you are going to find, of course, the note of coffee that takes the lead. It opens with the coffee. The fragrance is lactonic. It has a powdery dry down, courtesy of the note of heliotrope. And you do have a very nicely done caramel. You also have some tonka that brings a warmth, like a spicy warmth to the mix. All in all, an incredible, incredible scent. To me, this tastes like not necessarily a flavored coffee, but like a specialty coffee of some sort. But you're not going to be able to say that it smells like a cappuccino or anything like that, because I have not been able to really pinpoint and say, oh, this reminds me of this or that coffee. What I can tell you is that it is a coffee-centric fragrance that at that has a very gourmand touch to it, definitely, because you are going to smell rather yummy, if you can even believe that, but coming out of the note of coffee. There is coconut here, and the coconut does play a key role in the olfactory journey, but at the dry down takes a back seat to the note of coffee and the caramel and the vanilla and other notes and accords going on. The coconut is not dry or flaky. It comes across as creamy, but not very creamy, because again, the coconut is really not a focal point. This is a scent that is truly a powerhouse, but what I love about it is that throughout its wear, you're going to smell yummy, making it appropriate and very versatile for just about any occasion, day or night. Let us know if you tried Eternal Coffee and your experience using it. The next fragrance that I have for you is from Lattafa, and this is Emir Al Oud Oud Intense. And every time I have a lineup where I want to talk about powerhouse Middle Eastern fragrances, I always have to pull this fragrance. It's been with me for well over, I think, 2 years. So it has had a chance to sit. And I can tell you that this is, when I tell you crazy powerhouse, crazy powerhouse. But what I love about this fragrance is that although it was designed to be rather intense, and it has oud all the way from the opening throughout the entire olfactory journey and at the dry down throughout the entire wear, it is really primarily about the note of oud, and it is a powerhouse. The oud here is so smooth. It took quite a while for it to completely smooth out, but I can tell you that this is a very smooth and beautifully done oud that gives you a very sophisticated and wealth and opulent kind of scent. There is a whole vibe going on with this scent, and it is really, really beautiful. In addition to that oud, you are also going to have some sandalwood, which brings a bit of creaminess to the dry down, and this has a ton of vanilla. But all in all, the star of this fragrance is the oud. So you do have to enjoy the note of oud, because here it's to the tune of, I would say, 4 to 5, more 4 than 5, but it is, again, a very smooth and nicely done oud that plays very well, to the point that I can tell you that I think you could use this for any occasion, any occasion, day or night. Let us know if you tried Emir Al Oud Oud Intense and your thoughts. So the next and last fragrance that I have for you today is one that I left for last on purpose, because when it comes to incredible masterpiece powerhouses, I have to tell you, this one is it. And it's coming out of one of my favorite Middle Eastern fragrance houses, which is Ahmed Al Maghribi, and this one is Marj. Now, if you are an Ahmed Al Maghribi collector or lover, I'm sure that you knew immediately that it was going to be Marj. Let me show you this bottle before we start talking about it. So this is not only a very different kind of bottle, but this is a very different kind of fragrance. So I have heard time and time again that this is a fragrance that should remind you of Gissa's Imperial Valley. I own that fragrance. I've done the comparison. And while there are similarities in the olfactory journey, to me, they are not the same fragrance. To me, this is a standalone masterpiece, and I have shared that with you time and time again. The thing about this fragrance is that it will offer you one of the most not just complex but challenging olfactory journeys that you could experience with a scent today. All across my entire fragrance collection, regardless of the type of fragrance or genre, this is one that proves to be one of the most complex and challenging. Because the thing with this fragrance is that if you ask me, is it floral? I'll tell you, oh yeah, we have some floral, we have a floral presence here. If you ask me if it's spicy, I'll tell you that, yeah, we have some spicy notes in here, clearly. If you ask me if it's woody, there's oud here, there's musk, you name it, there's leather, we have it all. And it just seems to me that every note, every controversial note, we even have honey here, which you know how I am about honey, and the honey is not, it's like a little bit funky, but curiously enough, it adds like a certain level of oomph and character to the scent itself. It just all comes together so nicely. I think that's where the mastery, comes into play when it comes to this scent, because the blend at the dry down is an absolutely addictive scent that you are either going to fall madly in love with or absolutely hate. Because to me, this is kind of like a polarizing fragrance. But if you fall in love with it, you are going to be head over heels, head over heels for it forever, because this one is definitely a lifer for me. But at all that, in addition to all that, this is an incredible powerhouse. This is one that you will spray and just never comes off. You have to work really hard at scrubbing it off because, wow, the projection exceeds the 2-hour mark. It is very, very intense. It is a high compliment getter. It is a bold, in-your-face, statement-making, unapologetic, here I am kind of presence scent. So if you're not looking for attention, don't wear this fragrance, because that is what you're going to get. Anyway, let us know if you tried Marge. You know, this is very much unisex to me, by the way. This doesn't lean feminine or masculine in any kind of way. But I'm telling you, you just have to make sure you get your nose on it before picking it up, because you're either going to super love it or be like, oh no, Arahi, I don't know what you were thinking. I can't deal with that. Anyway, for those of you that do own it or have experienced it in any way, can you please let us know in the comment section if this is a love for you? Do you find it polarizing? Is this one that you ended up like, oh no, this is not for me? Anyway, moving on. All right, fam. So we've reached the end of today's Middle Eastern Thursday, and this was so much fun for me because I got to pull fragrances that I have not necessarily pulled, you know, some of them I have, but most of them I had not pulled in quite a long time, and experience them again and be able to speak to you about why I love them and why they're still sitting in my collection. Let us know if you've experienced the powerhouse effect of any of these fragrances. You know, tell us your stories. How do you feel about them? Which ones worked for you and which ones did not work for you and why? As always, thank you so much for hanging with me today, and I will see you all in the next video.